Welcome back to another week at Art Playground with Mrs. Vaughn. This week we're going to be learning about an artist named Wassily Kandinsky. He is quite interesting. You know, I love my fun facts. Here's a fun fact about him. He had a neurological phenomenon. That means something that happens with his brain where he saw colors when he heard music and he heard music when he painted. This happens to like 5 to 6% of the population. Does it happen to you? Doesn't happen to me, but I kind of wish it did. My second fun fact for you is that even though he was a painter and worked with very messy materials, he always wore a suit. Take a look at some of the pictures of this stylish artist and the outfits he wore to create art. Wassily Kandinsky was born in Moscow, Russia in December of 1866. He enjoyed music and played both cello and the piano as a youngster. He went to college and then became a law professor. When he was 30, he decided to change careers and become an artist shortly after visiting a Claude Monet exhibit. In the beginning of his art career, he followed other artists and explored Impressionism, Pointillism, and Fauvism. But in 1909, he began to think that paintings did not need a particular subject. He thought shapes and colors could be art on their own. He started to experiment with this notion and was painting what would be later referred to as abstract art. He is one of the founding fathers of this style of art. To be honest, he had a bumpy career. He moved to Germany to study art, moved to Bavaria, and then moved back to Russia as World War I started. His work was not appreciated in Russia. The Russian government hid his work in storerooms and museums that nobody visited, so most of his art was lost or destroyed. He returned to Germany to teach. In 1933, the Nazis stormed the Bauhaus school and shut it down. In 1937, he was exhibiting art in Germany, but the Germans did not like his art. They called it degenerate art and confiscated 57 pictures. Kandinsky felt he could express feelings through shapes and colors. He thought that yellow had the crisp sound of a trumpet. If you place certain colors together, they worked like music chords, working together to create a sound. He thought circles represented spiritual feelings, triangles were aggression, and squares represented calm feelings. He moved to Paris after the war towards the end of his life. He became depressed because his work was not selling well. He died at the age of 77 in France. If he only knew that later he would be considered a pioneer in abstract art and his work would become very popular and desired. In fact, in 2013, one of his paintings, Study for Improvisational 3, sold for $21.2 million at an art auction. All right, artists, all you need is some white paper. It can be any type you have on hand. And then for the color, you can choose what you wish to use. I'm going to demonstrate crayons. You could use pens, watercolors, or oil pastels. Go grab your supplies. All right, we're just going to take a quick look at the color wheel, and just as a refresher, I'm sure our artists this week did not use the color wheel, but it's always in the back of an artist's mind. So might he have used primary colors like red, yellow, and blue together to see how they look? He might have. Or perhaps the secondary colors, some green and orange and violet. Did he do complementary colors, colors across from each other on the color wheel? Might those colors really pop in this project? It's possible. Or there's the intermediate colors, the ones that sit next to each other. Do these look great together? Yup. How about these? They do. So have fun picking out your color selection for your project, and keep in mind the color wheel. What kind of colors are you choosing? To start our project, you're going to take your piece of paper and you're simply going to fold it in half. And then you're going to fold it in half again. What we're going to do is we're going to make 12 squares, much like our artist that we have looked at their work. So currently we have 4. We're going to eyeball it here. Now we need to turn this paper into thirds. So if you want to measure it, you can, or I just eyeballed it, trying to get 3 sections. And if you count, now I've got 12 close to identical squares in which to do my concentric circles. So as we talked about with the color wheel, this artist really was very aware of the colors he used next to each other, but he was also experimenting. So he's had a little bit of criticism for this concentric circles art picture. It doesn't really look like his others, and there's a reason. That concentric circles was not meant to be a work of art. It was actually, it was almost like a worksheet for an artist. He experimented with different colors, putting them next to each other to see what he really liked. Could he have used this information in future projects? Absolutely. He could look at this worksheet and say, hey, this blue and purple look great together, or look at the purple and yellow. Those two really pop together, and he might use this as a tool to help him figure out the colors he will use in future projects. So even though this piece of art is actually quite popular because it's interesting, it was never intended really to be one of his works of art, which has become so well known, but it's a tool, and we are going to kind of create a tool here. This tool you could use to help you do more works in the style of Kandinsky. His works go far beyond the concentric circles. You get a lot of movement and shapes, and we've talked about the colors. So use this as your worksheet. You could use it for other artists too. See what colors you like together. I'm going to speed this up because you know how to color, but I just want you to see how I put this together. And then we'll talk a little bit near the end. Before we go, notice how I'm keeping everything in that one square. So all of those colors, and I even drew the lines to make that a square, everything there is part of our first square. We're going to be doing 12 of them. Thanks for stopping by our playground today. If you enjoy what we do here, please subscribe to our channel and ring that bell.